The Red Bull Formula One team is a modern legend within the sport, being one of the most dominant teams in the last decade or so, taking 4 consecutive Constructors and Drivers' Championships from 2010 to 2013. Yet, their driver lineup has always been a point of controversy. So today we're going to take a look back at the history of their driver lineup from the very beginning to today. So boys and girls, sit back, relax, and get ready for an absolute roller coaster of emotions. So our story begins in November 2004, where Red Bull agreed to purchase the Jaguar Formula One racing team and turn it into Red Bull Racing. Team boss Christian Horner put together the first lineup, which consisted of ex-McLaren man and the owner of the world's squarest chin, David Coulthard, and Red Bull-backed Austrian Christian Klein, who had raced for the Jaguar team the year before. However, 2004 F3000 champion and fellow Red Bull junior, Vitantonio Liuzzi, was also after that second seat. So Red Bull, like a parent with not enough seats in the car, decided, you know what, you two can share it. And so they announced that every 4 races, the 2 drivers would swap. But
that was a fucking lie.
Because in the end, Liuzzi only made 4 appearances, so Christian, Mr. Horner said it was my time to drive now. No, but if you thought that wasn't enough seats shown in 2005, Red Bull also gave that second seat to American, possibly with the best name for racing driver ever, Scott Speed, for both the Canadian and US GP that year in order to, you know, grow the brand in America with an American driver. Big brain stuff, lads. But thankfully, come the 2006 season, Red Bull finally solved their problem of, you know, too many drivers, not enough seats, as they bought another F1 team, naming it Toro Rosso, which means Red Bull in Italian. And there they could put, you know, their young drivers, so they get some experience, prove their worth, so eventually they can move up to the main team. Sounds like a smart system. I'm sure that'll never go wrong. And for their debut season, Liuzzi and Speed took a hold of the STR1. Back over at the big boy team, though, Red Bull teamed on with Coulthard and Klein in 2006, going through the entire year without a single driver change. But not for long! As with just 3 rounds to go, they booted the Austrian and bought in Robert Dornbus for the final 3 races. But why would they do that? Well, it's because that August they announced that they'd be signing Mark Webber for the upcoming season, thus stating that Klein would not be joining them for the year to come, which he wasn't that happy about. Plus, compared to Coulthard, he was underperforming, so. But yes, come the 2007 season, Red Bull finally decided on a solid lineup, which, get this, didn't change for the entire season. In fact, they kept it for 2 seasons. Mental, I know. Meanwhile, though, over at Toro Rosso, 2007 saw Liuzzi and Speed still at the wheel, before finally Red Bull had enough of the latter's poor performances, bad attitude, a load of things. Basically, I could do a whole video on Scott Speed if I wanted to, but all you need to know for now is that getting rid of him was a good option. And coming in to replace the Yank was a little-known BMW junior driver called Sebastian Vettel. You may have heard of him, but we'll get back to him later. 2008, Toro Rosso have Sebastian Bourdais joined Sebastian Vettel at the team, whilst Red Bull kept ticking along with their 2 alpha males. And for the first time in a little while, all things seemed to become calm and settled within the Red Bull family. But not for long! As DC announced at Silverstone that year that he would be retiring at the end of the season, thus leaving a seat open at the main team. Which turned out to be great timing, as that young German I mentioned just won a bloody race, so get him in there, lads. And thus, as we entered the 2009 season, Red Bull began its 5-year stint of being competitive with the same lineup. Seb quickly became the #1 driver ahead of Webber, finishing 2nd in the championship in 2009, and then after that, I'm sure we all know what happened. But don't worry, lads, Red Bull made up for their lack of driver changes at the main team, with a load of musical chairs over at Toro Rosso, starting in 2009 where they kept Bourdais and bought in Sebastian Buemi. Yet that only lasted 9 races, as in July the team announced that Bourdais' contract had been terminated due to poor performance, and instead they're going to be bringing in new young talent Jaime Almashwari. I definitely said that wrong. Looks like it should be Jamie, but it's not quite Jamie. At just 19 years and 125 days old, he became the youngest ever driver to start a Formula One race to line up on the grid in Hungary. And I mean, despite the car being, well, you know, shite, Toro Rosso seemed happy enough with these 2 on board, as they kept the same lineup throughout 2009 and the entire of 2010 and 2011 as well. And finally, once again, everything calmed down. It seemed like Red Bull were actually, you know, happy with what they had. They had some good lineups. It was all peaceful. But not for long! As going into the 2012 season, Toro Rosso binned off both of them and replaced them with Red Bull Junior / test drivers Daniel Ricciardo and Jean-Eric Vergne. Both of which, to be fair, are banging drivers. The results did improve slightly, but you know, the car still wasn't great. Yet they both did enough to stay at the team for 2013. However, then is where things got spicy. As over at the main Red Bull team, Seb was on his way to taking his 4th consecutive world championship, and things between him and his teammate Webber were getting a little bit hostile, to say the least. And so, midway through the season, the Aussie sat down and announced to us all that he would be retiring at the end of the year. Dun 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 dun. Goodbye, Mark. Ricciardo versus Vern. A straight battle for a seat at the top team. A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It all comes down to this. Who's going to come out on top? Ricciardo came out on top. Sorry, Vern. And so, moving into the 2014 season, a new era had begun. Not only for the Red Bull team with their new driver lineup, but also for F1 as the turbo hybrid engines made their debut. Red Bull were no longer the team to beat, but the new kid on the block, Danny Rick, wasted no time making a name for himself, taking 3 race wins that year, which is, you know, very respectable. And this good season was actually enough to mean he beat Vettel in the championship that year. And that fat hell was a bit too much for Seb to firm, as by the end of the year, he'd announced he'd be leaving the team and driving for Ferrari the next year instead. And now, once again, just 1 year on, Red Bull have another seat of their main team to fill. But who will get it? Well, I mean, one of their juniors, you'd assume. And I mean, they have plenty to choose from. As over at Toro Rosso, Werner continued on with them into 2014, alongside European F3 champion Danik Kvyat. However, at midpoint through the year, they announced that they're going to be signing 16-year-old Max Verstappen to Toro Rosso for the next season, resulting in there now being 1 seat at Toro Rosso and 1 seat at Red Bull for them to fill for 2015. When all was said and done, Kvyat moved up to Red Bull, and Toro Rosso signed Carlos Sainz Jr., bringing John-Eric Vern's stint at the team to an end. Poor bloke, but I mean, don't worry, he did pretty well for himself elsewhere. So, 2015 now, a rough year for Red Bull. 0 wins, the reliability was pretty awful as well, but both lineups stayed the same, with Toro Rosso actually having their best year ever points-wise, with young Max Verstappen having many standout performances along the way as well. Helmet will remember that. 2016 now, don't worry lads, we're nearly there. Ricciardo and Kvyat were still at Red Bull, and Verstappen at Sainz was still at Toro Rosso. But not for long! As just 4 races into the season, Mr. Marco had enough of Kvyat's underperformances and interesting incidents and decided to promote Verstappen to the main team and drop Kvyat down to Toro Rosso. An interesting choice to say the least. I mean, I'm not quite sure if it's going to work out. Verstappen won his first race for the team. Very nice. Red Bull then soon got comfy with this lineup, keeping it the same for the next 3 years. That's 4. But the same cannot be said about Toro Rosso, who had 4 drivers race them over the course of 2017. Starting off with Sainz to Kvyat, before it was announced in September that Pierre Gasly would be coming in and replacing the Russians, starting in Malaysia. But then, a few races later, Sainz moved to Renault, meaning Kvyat came back. Before then, Gasly had to miss the race to go and finish the Super Formula in Japan. So the team brought Brendan Hartley in to replace him for the race. But then they decided, nah, right, we'll keep Brendan, bin Kvyat off again, bring Gasly in, and we'll stick with that for the rest of the season. Whew, keeping it simple, lads. I like to see it. But at least now, you know, they were settled. 2018 saw Gasly and Hartley remain at the team, whilst Red Bull, of course, you know, had their boys. And now, finally, this time, all was calm and peace was restored. But not for long! As in August 2018, Ricciardo announced he's leaving Red Bull to go join Renault in 2019, restarting the classic game of Red Bull musical chairs, with Gasly being promoted to the A team, bloody Kvyat coming back again to replace him at Toro Rosso, this time though alongside rookie Alex Albon, because they binned off Hartley for being, well, shit. And thus the 2019 season begun, and almost instantly it was clear that Gasly wasn't really loving life, struggling a bit for pace, you know, trying to get to grips with that car. But it's sort of normal, it's a new team for him. I'm sure Red Bull will give him, you know, a good amount of time to develop and get used to the car. Nope, summer break, he was out. Back down to Toro Rosso for you, lad. And rookie Alex Albon was promoted to the A team after just 12 races in his Formula 1 career. Oh, what could go wrong?
I'm in danger.
The 2019 season then finished itself off, and to be fair, both teams be alright. Alex had done decently settling in, and the lads of the B team were just vibing. And moving into 2020, both lineups would stay the same, although Toro Rosso would rebrand to AlphaTauri, which is Red Bull's fashion brand, you know. Fashion. But then, over the course of 2020, many of us started to get the sense of deja vu, as Albon was struggling a bit in the Red Bull, whilst meanwhile Gasly was winning in Monza. But, you know, it seemed like things may have changed at Red Bull. All these driver swaps all the time must have been tiring, you know, really disorienting for the team. They must have changed, you know. Alex is young, he's got lots of potential, he's still relatively new to F1, and Red Bull made it very clear that he had their full backing and they were going to support him into the future and help him develop. But not for long. As come the end of the season, Red Bull announced that Albon would not be driving for them in 2021, demoting him to not the B team, but the reserve driver role, with Perez coming in to take his spot, and Japanese rookie Yuki Tsunoda coming into AlphaTauri as they binned off Kvyat for like the 100th time, honestly. And yeah, boys, there you have it. The entire history of the Red Bull F1 lineups up to now. It's been a long one, full of twists and turns, you know, shouting and sweat. But hopefully you enjoyed it, because I haven't. But yeah, it says a lot about the Red Bull system when there's a lot of this to talk through, but at the end of the day, despite many young drivers having their F1 careers cut short because of Red Bull, they've also brought in some of the best names in the recent history, so I mean, can we argue with them? But yeah, that's it from me. Like I said, I'm sweating a bit too much, so I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and yeah, I've been Aiden, this is MrAidenRule. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.